Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
Yeah, I totally botched that. We didn't even get to hear the end of Bruce Buffer.
People filled it in.
Yeah, we got the point across.
Yeah.
Welcome to the program, Williams and Blum. It is Sunday night, the 2nd of March. First show of March, baby.
Feels
the madness.
Good. Feels good.
Let it begin. Little
Iowa
English
State,
bringing us in.
undefeated in March.
Really an elite weekend.
One of the best.
Elite.
Needed it.
Needed it. We'll get to all the madness. Iowa State women, we waited to record tonight until after their game, and dare I say the sisters are in the tournament.
Ryan shirt right there.
Blum's got his Daggers and Dimes shirt on. All right.
That lock them up, baby. Lock them up.
They're in, right?
They're
like
in.
That was it. Yep.
That is it. That is it. The net hasn't changed yet, but K-State came in 12th. That's a monster win because it gets them a quad one win. Plus, they were 37th entering today. I bet they get up to like 31. They are in, and not only that, C-Dub, I think they're not even going to be in the bye situation or in the playing game situation. I think they're in.
Yeah, I think so too.
They're in it. And so, real quick housekeeping. The women will play on Thursday, this Thursday, okay? Like I had to readjust myself. Like, all right, put it together now. This Thursday at 5:30 as the 7th seed. They will be the 7th seed on Thursday against the the Cincinnati Arizona State winner. So again, Iowa State didn't get a double bye on the women's side. They get the 7th seed, but they will play 5:30 on Thursday, win that game, and play Friday at 5:30 against either Baylor or TCU. That game is ongoing as we speak. Depends who gets that 2 seed there.
Okay. Well, was that their best game of the year?
Not even close.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I was going to say.
Played great. Played fantastic. It was, I don't say that, it was one of my favorite Hilton experiences in a long time. We just had everything came together. They played great. Emily was awesome. The crowd was spectacular all weekend. I mean, Hilton was phenomenal, like electric for 2 days in a row, and that was the picture-perfect game for them. Like they gotta feel great after that one for so many reasons. Just happy for them.
Really happy for Emily, and then man, I just kept thinking this, and we're seeing Audie Crooks string together some like really, really impressive games right now. Addie Brown's been great for a while. Audie's been great too, but like now I just look at the tournament, and if I'm like a 2 seed, like I don't want a 10 seed Iowa State in my region.
It's
right because they just are a weird matchup, and like now clearly they were 0-9 in quad one going into today, so like they haven't. But like I'm just saying, like if they're finally reaching that potential in March, I wouldn't want a piece of this team.
No. I thought, Audie went 36-10-3 today.
Yeah, I mean, there's only a handful of players in the country that can match up with her.
And I thought for the first quarter, K-State did a really nice job of defending her. They still couldn't stop her.
Yeah.
That
was
a
physical game, too.
It was really physical. And then Addie doesn't get talked about enough, what she does.
She's their Melvin Edgem.
Yeah, she just keeps the whole operation running. And then I just very excited for them. I agree with you, C-Dub. If I'm a 2 seed or a 3 seed and I see Iowa State on my side, I'm going, no, thank you. Don't want them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Iowa State won't play. We won't know where they will be in the NCAA tournament, but they are in. They are definitely in the tournament.
I agree. We are presented, as always, by our friends at Mechdyne, the Mechdyne Corporation. We had a great event out with them last week that we talked about on Wednesday's show. Really cool time in Marshalltown doing some great things with Matt Campbell was out there, just moving things, man, doing good things in the communities. Our friends at Mechdyne, we appreciate them. Let's get into this men's game. Statement game probably was a little overused sometimes, but it certainly felt like they took the loss at Oklahoma State personally, to me at least. And I full disclosure, I was not there. I was supporting a friend out in Arizona. That's why I don't have a voice. I was at an amateur boxing match.
And he won too, right? Everybody won.
He did. He did to that opponent what Iowa State did to Arizona.
Good.
And I was just screaming my lungs out because I've known Colin since he was like in kindergarten, and I was so proud of him, and like it was awesome. But anyways, if your boys ever get into amateur boxing, I'll be there for them too, Brent.
Based on genetics, I'm going to guess that's probably a no-go on the Bloom
Well,
side. But hey,
just
I'm
don't
happy.
know.
I'm
Theo's
happy
got that mean streak to
he
him.
does.
I've seen it.
He does. Happy for Colin that he got that win.
He actually walked out to the song "Sweet Caroline" too.
Now that's a choice.
It was not a Iowa State reference. It was his grandmother's, who is passed away in the last couple of years. It was her favorite song, but I was like, Cyclone Nation's gonna love it.
Yeah.
And then all the Hawks are gonna be after Keith because his kid walked out to "Sweet Caroline." So no, that's why my voice is a little bit tattered right now. But it did, like, I was glad I was out there to support those guys, but it made me sick not being in Hilton. Like, at one point in the day, physically, like, ill in my stomach with George being there, with Tyrese being there, and the super rare Saturday night home game.
Yeah.
Unseasonably warm temperatures. Like, it all came, and this is what Iowa State fans are the best at. Boy, that the team needed the crowd. That team needed that energy, and I don't know if it was their best game of the year, but just like the women, it's definitely in the conversation.
Best. Boy, hard pressed to find a better effort, complete game.
Texas Tech
is a really good win too. I mean, that thing is, like we talked about when that happened.
Yeah.
Like, that is shaped up to be a huge differentiator. No, so my quick thoughts, C-Dub. I thought crowd led the charge. Tyrese and George being there was incredible. And then I thought Iowa State was just really, really physical early. And, I went back and watched it this morning, the TV commentators were going on and on about how TJ wanted to call it an MMA fight. So they use that whole, like, everything comes back to MMA this weekend, apparently.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
But we got to be tough. We got to be physical. We got to take it to them. And I thought right from the get-go, Iowa State had a different energy level when that game started. This was not – they were not going to let Oklahoma State happen again.
Compare that to the Oklahoma State first 10 minutes.
It was night and day. It was night and day. Like, you knew right away. It was like, all right, even Joshua and Deshaun, I thought, were great early. I'm like, all right, we're going to be physical. Yeah, we might pick up a foul or two, but we're not going to let Arizona get comfortable. And then between them, the physical nature of Iowa State, I thought Iowa State guarded really well. And then Milan hits. When Milan got it going in the first half, it was like, Iowa State's not losing this game. It was so cool. I mean, that was an Iowa State team that looked like a healthy Iowa State team, and exactly what you're hoping for with two games of the regular season left. Because now, and you even saw it on the Twitterverse last night, it's like, oh, well, that's Iowa State when healthy. They're 19-1 when Iowa State has all of its players. I do think that's going to be a big impact for the committee when they start looking at, because these 2 and 3 seeds are all kind of the same. If you look at their resumes. Iowa State winning a game like that comfortably against another potential 2 or 3 seed with its entire roster healthy, I think is great. I think it's huge. So, big game Tuesday against BYU, and then, it's on. March is here, and I think Iowa State fed off that.
The BYU game, we'll spend more time on it, but it is going to likely be for that double bye in the Big 12 tournament. So, we'll get to all that. I thought I know Kansas isn't very good. It is notable to me that Iowa State beat Arizona and Kansas both by 17 on its home floor.
Yep.
Which I just, again, I don't know if it actually means anything with what's going on in Lawrence right now, but these big games, we've seen this team rise to the occasion. It's also, you made the point on the 19-1. This is why I was so frustrated last week. It's because, like, I understand the conversation that many fans were having. I understand it because you watch the game, they didn't really look that interested at Oklahoma State, yada, yada, yada. But it still doesn't, like, and I always get this. Stop using injuries as an excuse and all, but, like, sometimes it's just the reason. And this team, I thought Jake Bren, who did our postgame show for me last night, did a great job, by the way. Not surprised. Jake's
awesome. Yep.
He made a really good, he pointed, and we had let into this too last week, but he thought maybe there's like some emotional exhaustion from these guys not knowing what role they were going to be in because of all the injuries, right? And like it does add up. And I was frustrated last week with the tone, not of the majority of the fan base, but just the loud portion of it. Of, well, good teams always, you got to just figure it out. You can't make an excuse. Well, man, like they've spent 3/4 of their season just in scramble mode. Like and I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I don't know if they're going to kick out of it, but that team you saw at Oklahoma State and the team against, when the Milan, that's not who they are at their core. So let's get them back, and then we'll make
then you judge them from there.
A big judgment on this, right? And so that was good for me. Like, you get them all back, and they responded in the way that you wanted them to, right? Like, they didn't limp through it. No, that looked like that team that was beating up on Auburn. Well, that looked like that team that kicked the shit out of Kansas. Like, that's not a great example because that was Milan's first game out. But you know what I mean. They had their swagger, and now it's got to carry over because I thought, I said this last week too, I think the BYU game is going to be tougher than the Arizona game. We'll get into that. But, man, it all of that felt good. It made me confident that there's no guarantee in the NCAA tournament, but this team can win the national championship. I truly still believe it has that type of a ceiling.
And I think that was the reassurance for everybody, players included. Like, wait, because C-Dub, okay, I'm going to objectively, right? Like, Iowa State did up to second in the nation. Everyone thought this team was really good, but not all of Iowa State's problem here. But you look at Iowa State's best wins now, before this one, and it was, Marquette at home. Marquette has really struggled over the last 2 weeks. It was winning at Iowa. Now, we've seen what's happened to them. Unfortunately, you did not get to play at Michigan State in Maui, and you lost to Auburn, which is a really good game, but you still lost that game. Dayton has fallen off the planet, and then Kansas has really struggled. So really, up until this game, Iowa State's really only marquee win. Again, I know Iowa State is 6-5 wherever in quadruple wins, but really the only marquee win was at Texas Tech, and that's a great win.
Yeah,
that is a great win. And by the way, the whole team was healthy for that game too. So follow me here. So you beat Kansas, and you're like, okay, we're gonna be all right. And then things got hard. That was a rough stretch. I do think though, Nate Heise having to go through that. Literally, it's the whole he hit rock bottom there in the middle of that thing.
Great point here.
And Iowa State is better for that now. Because how good was that guy yesterday? How good has he been for 2 weeks?
Fantastic. He's been so good.
And without, and this is where I'm glass half full, without that rough stretch, I don't think there's that, whether it's him, the team, or whatever, everybody kind of had to reacclimate and, find another gear. And Nate, not only was he really good efficiency-wise, he had some swagger last night. Like, he was getting into it with the Arizona guys.
Dude, and he is so athletic.
He is. And that's where I think if you have him playing like that, I think Momcilovic was awesome. My concern with Iowa State, literally, I got a little panic yesterday before the game. Like, if you look at Iowa State, they have really struggled against teams that are more athletic than them. Do you follow me here?
Absolutely.
Like teams that can really pressure, grind them out. Iowa State can't just get away with out athleticism, out athleting people, and make Iowa State earn the half court. And at times, Arizona did that. Like, we're going to get into it, and the 16 turnovers still way too many. Like, that is not going to do it because, quite frankly, Iowa State cannot count on making 11 threes. So a lot of things went right for Iowa State. However, the looks were awesome. They got Momcilovic wide open. They got Heisey wide open. Taman hit some wide open shots. Like, I thought the movement was really good. The bigs took it to him early, which I think opened up the floor. Iowa State did so many great things that I don't think would have been possible, C-Dub, if you didn't go through that adversity. And this is why these coaches, they don't panic because they know this is building blocks for what's ahead. Would you rather be 28-2 and not have to deal with whatever Iowa State did in early February? Yeah, absolutely. However, I think when times get hard in March, and they will, this team will now realize, okay, we've seen this before. We can rally behind it. And now you've got, between Milan and Nate, a couple of guys that are playing at a really good level. Next question, get Curtis really healthy. Was okay, not great yesterday. And then Keyshawn still doesn't quite look himself yet. And I think those are the next questions for this team. But you have to be very optimistic for what that group put together. And I thought Taman, Milan, and Nate were phenomenal yesterday.
All that's nailed it. The Keyshawn thing, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of his. Everybody knows that. He wasn't great, right? Like, you're right. Doesn't look right, all that. But he missed some shots, like getting to the rim that he's going to make more often than not.
Yeah, and he hadn't played in 10 years, by the way.
Well, that's my thing. It's like, so, he wasn't great. I mean, I'm not making an excuse for the guy. And you still beat Arizona by 17. My point is, like, what happens if that's I don't even know if I'd say that's a C game for him because I know how good he can be. Like, let's say it was a C- game for Keyshawn. Well, what if he gives you a B+? And you get that kind of again, and it comes down to when it's all there, they can beat anybody in the country.
And that's where I think, as fans, it's like, well, man, we got issues. Keyshawn didn't play very well. It's like, wait a second here. What you do when you are a good team is you weather the ability to have one or two poor performances. That's what makes the really good teams really good. Because it is impossible, almost impossible to have everybody play well on the same night. I think we have this misconception that, there's another gear for Iowa State. Man, if there is, Iowa State's going to be scary, scary good. You're going to have a player not play as well as everybody else. It's just going to happen. And what makes teams really good is the ability to weather that with somebody else stepping up. And again, Keyshawn wasn't great, but Nate was awesome. Even Joshua Jefferson only has 8 points, right? Deshaun Jackson gives you 4. The bigs were just okay. But then Chatfield steps in, and he's found another level. He changed the game, in my opinion, in the first half with just his hustle play and effort. And that's where this is what makes Iowa State a really good team is you can have guys not play well and still win by 17. That's what should be the story. Less about, oh, my gosh, Keyshawn and Joshua and Deshaun struggled. Yeah. It's like you still won a game by 17.
I think it's like we're all so invested. It's the soap opera thing. Yeah. Like you have to have. Have you ever watched like Days of Our Lives? I don't even know what the soap operas are now. Like where there's not like drama on an episode, and like there's rarely going to be a game where everybody plays their best.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just it's nearly impossible.
And this is why this Iowa State team has a ceiling to get to the Final Four, and the previous ones didn't, because when you got good Gabe Kalsher, you could beat
anybody.
Yeah, when you had bad Gabe Kalsher, you're scoring in the 40s.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's just this.
Like seen this with Grill, with Brockington, with even Milan last year, right? If Milan would go and shoot you out of a game quickly, you had these other guys and but they weren't quite good enough yet they didn't have the bigs, right? Correct. It was very much like, God, don't let Jones get to the free throw line. You have all these things, but now it's just so much.
It's balanced.
I'm very optimistic. I am worried about Tuesday, and it's not. I'm still very hyped about Iowa State. I think this BYU team is like legit. I watched their game on my flight home against West Virginia. I want to thank our great sponsors, and we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
My buddy Colin Newell. He is one of the best service people I've worked with. I couldn't say better about the job he's done with my home, and does all of our insurance, does Blum's Insurance too. Farm Bureau Financial Services, former Iowa State offensive lineman Colin Newell. That's our guy. Colin, 1L on the front end, 2 on the back end, baby.
I was in my garage. I have the 2021 football poster. I was just looking this afternoon.
Yeah.
And Colin's right next to Brock Purdy. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty two successful dudes right here. Brock about to get that big contract. It's coming. And we got to talk about the fellas
Dude,
in the
freaking
combine. Oh,
holy crap.
okay, we'll get there. Well, let's talk about BYU, but we'll get there. That may have been one of the best weekends for Iowa State football that nobody even realizes quite yet.
Like, dude, what about the linemen today?
Oh my, Jalen Travis.
I was like, yeah,
Great.
I'm looking at all the fancy 40 times with the wide receivers and holy shit, Travis with one of the great surprises I can remember with Iowa. I mean, maybe internally they're like not surprised about this, but God, like he just moved up a bunch of draft boards.
He's again, I don't know what he was coming into the weekend. His physical profile puts him as a legit, like right on par with the first round pick. The guy jumped like 34 inches.
It was incredible.
It was silly.
I mean, we have been hearing that Noel.
Yeah.
We've talked about it on this show.
Right? Okay, did people notice that? Like, hey, this guy's actually jumped like 43 inches once. So
yeah, we've been doing that here, pounding that drum a little bit. Him and Higgins were incredible.
awesome.
Where are they projecting right now?
Yeah. So here, again, it's kind of hard to get a real good feel.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it enough, but
I
it
would
feels like second to fourth round for both guys.
I think, the high end for Higgins and Noel would be early second.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me.
And again, a lot of times there's a lot of wiggle room. Yeah, I would say honestly, seat up all 4 of those guys. So meaning Travis, Noel, Higgins, and Porter will all be picked by the 4th round, or between 2 and 4. And Malik didn't test a lot, but he'll get drafted as well. There'll be 5 Cyclones drafted.
Matt told me before the combine, and I don't know what he was hearing, that he thought Porter would be like 3rd round, and that was before Darren went off.
Just crazy, yeah.
At the combine.
I'm just happy. I'm happy for all those guys. I really am. Again, there's a lot of great that happened this weekend. That was right there too.
No, I'm glad you brought it up. And that you better believe that's a recruiting tool. I actually saw our guy Soul.
Yeah, the new
Chase.
receiver's dad. Yeah.
He was out there tooting the horn for those guys. I mean, like that stuff. Like, I don't know if any of us can fully gather how valuable that is. You probably have a better idea because you're more involved in recruiting and stuff on a daily basis. But like for a transfer who, and I really believe this is going to be the next phase of all this. And I've been consistent with this, and I just think we're going to see it. If everybody's getting paid now in the future, not all the same, right? Because different schools are doing different splits and all that, but everybody's getting paid something now.
Yep.
Going forward.
Yep.
I just don't believe that you're going to have guys just chilling on Georgia's roster not playing for 5 years. I don't believe it. They are going to go out and, in their mind, drop down to an ACC Big 12. And we've already seen this in the portal. I think we will see more of it, depending on what transfer rules they end up on. But my point is, if you're Iowa State now, and they've been consistently putting guys in the NFL for a while. Like, this isn't anything new.
Yep.
The combine this weekend, in my opinion, changed the entire profile of Iowa State football.
Agreed, because it's twofold. Yes, these guys are going to get drafted, but their testing numbers were off the charts. So that is a huge tip of the cap to Coach KG and the strength and conditioning staff. And yeah, like these guys
it validates Campbell's move a few years ago too.
100%. And like these guys have had the profile anyway. But recruiting, I mean, just and our guy Coach Hooger, he's already on it. Iowa State brought in Jaden Higgins, who was at Eastern Kentucky. All right, we're 2 years past. Jaden Higgins, by the way, committed to Iowa State with 0 NIL. C-Dub, 0, like none. But he was at Eastern Kentucky. Like, he had some other opportunities, but he's like, I want to go there because I'm going to play, and I'm going to turn myself into potentially an NFL player. Now, he's probably a second-round pick.
Yeah.
And he'll be a multi-millionaire. All right, so there's one of them. Then you have Jalen Travis, who got 5X the offer that we gave him, quite honestly, from a couple bigger schools. But he's like, nope, I'm going there. It's close to home. I believe in them. I love the offensive line coach. I'm going to turn myself into a second or a third round NFL draft pick. If he pulls that off, do you know how much validity that gives to the Iowa State offensive line recruiting? You can say that guy got here for 4 months when he was not on draft boards, and now we made him into a second rounder with our strength staff and our coach, offensive line coaching. Huge, huge. And by the way, Iowa State's got some young guys that are in the pipeline right now, namely the Helton twins, that are like they think the world of those two. Anyway,
Matt talked
that's
at the We Will Cyclone Fanatic event. The other one that made me raise my eyebrow was Bell, the
Trey
transfer.
Bell. So there,
corner.
so you man, you just like we've worked together for a little bit. So the other part here is then you have Darian Porter, who was a special teams guy for 3 years, didn't start until literally this year. He might be your second or third round NFL pick, and will be a multi-millionaire. And the great thing there is, C-Dub, he stuck it out. It shows your current guys of, hey, take your time. You will get an opportunity if you stick it out. Don't bail on us yet. We will develop you. And now you've got Darian Porter, who will step in immediately and be one of the best special teams players in that league. I really believe that. And it's just really neat. It's really neat how all those guys took advantage of their opportunity.
It's another example, too, of don't be an idiot. Right, like it, and that sounds so. But like we all, I've worked for every recruiting service there is. It feels like we all get so caught up in the like stars, and I don't even know if that's the case anymore. But it was for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah,
it was.
And I always just be like, well, who are they? Who else is offering them? That's really what I would care about. Now I'm more like, what kind of a guy is he? And the reason I just, like, it doesn't work here to be a shithead. Like, it just doesn't. Like, either of these programs, it doesn't work.
You'll get weeded out real fast. You won't make it.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes like this circle of, hey, we're doing it this way.
Another great example is Niang, man. Like, watching him on Saturday night, I almost get him. I've known George since he was a junior in high school. Like he's my boy. The reason he got a shot in the NBA is because he was a great teammate.
Guy. Yep.
I tell my nieces and nephew this all the time. They get so sick of me saying it. They play high school sports, and I'm like, I always give them and Purdy too. Brock was the same. He wasn't an idiot. Like, you're not going to draft a quarterback in the 7th round if he's a shithead. You bring that guy in because you know everybody else can get better because of – and I don't think that – I know Kyle Shanahan, based on what Sage has told me, really liked Purdy for what it's worth, but they thought he can come in and make our quarterback room smarter.
He can work hard. Right? He's not going to be a bad guy.
And when I look at, like, Noel – he's the perfect example. Porter might be the greatest, like, trust the process guy in history. But, like, Noel, to me, I think Noel's career is super interesting. Hyped, right? Freshman year, super hyped. He was really good as a freshman.
He was.
Like,
he played.
But he didn't have, like, crazy numbers.
Correct.
And I think there were even portions of the fan base that probably were like, oh, he's good, but, you know.
And then his sophomore year, C-Dub, quite honestly, he had a couple drops, and this is the Hunter Deckers year, and people are like, get this guy off the field.
Yeah.
And I think that's the long game that I hopefully with old age that we're getting there, it's like, man, there's gonna be trials and tribulations. There's ups and downs for that guy, and that guy stuck it out, and he turned himself
and then
into
Higgins
a great player.
comes in and really overshadows him.
He did.
So like all of a sudden Noel's career's up, and you're like, well, I'm adding up the numbers. It's one of the best receivers in Iowa State history, but then you don't have these like
Touchdown
crazy
numbers
like
that Higgins did. Yeah.
yeah, and then you look at it and he goes to the combine and has one of the great weekends in the history of Iowa State football there.
Yep.
Like it's a great story.
But
the Porter one is too. It's like all of them are. It's just it. I was very proud of those young men.
Yeah,
because they're them better than I do. They're a really nice group of guys.
And that's where I was just ecstatic for them because I know the work they put in. I know all of them. Every single one of them had other opportunities to do something else, but they stuck it out, and then that just helps Iowa State's program so much. But the reason they stuck it out, C-Dub, and this is the cool part, this is the cycle we're in, is because TJ Tampa stuck it out, right? Will McDonald stuck it out. All these, and even the guys that won't make the NFL, J.R. Singleton, who stuck it out, is one of the really great leaders on that roster.
Brock. Bo
Freeler. Like that's.
I was gonna say Rocco. Like
Rocco,
I mean,
another
if
one.
Quarterback leaves last year, then it sows doubt in everybody.
But do you know who Rocco, right when he got there, started developing a relationship with? Jalen Nolan, Jaden Higgins. Like
yeah.
And so now those guys would do anything for each other. And now so what's happening behind the scenes, I'm just giving everybody some insight. Now those two new receivers, Soul and Townsend, are following Rocco everywhere. I mean, they're like, because that's what Higgins and Noel told them to do. Is like, this, you trust this guy, he'll take care of you, and it becomes this thing where it's like now and Matt's been there 9-10 years, right? Like this, it starts to become, I don't want to call it a machine, but when you have something you can point to, it's like, if you do that, this is what can happen. It makes it so much easier in coaching, recruiting, all the above. And just really grateful for those guys and how this thing has been built. And guys, Iowa State's gonna be really good next year. I mean, just the early reports from workouts are really good.
Can we talk about having an NBA All-Star and gold medal winner just sitting courtside? And what
doesn't hurt either.
Talk about weird careers, though. I know we've done this with Tyrese. We did this last week, but like his is bizarre. But like the visuals from him and Niang sitting next to Steve Sukup, and
even the fact that Halliburton's parents came, which was so cool.
John's the GOAT, man. John Halliburton is one of the great characters in the history of Iowa State athletics.
But they were around all the time. I was glad to see him. It was real. It was super special,
dude. I guarantee John was itching to get back here.
Oh, there's no doubt.
He's probably going to listen to this.
Well, a friend of mine ran into John. He's like, yeah, John said things are going well for him. He's shuttling time between Indianapolis and Oshkosh, and things are good.
Also think Chappie, Andrew Chaplin, if you need a real estate agent, weather's getting nicer. People are thinking about moving. Hunziker, he's our guy. We love him. We appreciate him. We've each known him since college.
We'll see Chappie in Kansas City. He'll be in Kansas City.
He'll go down to the women's tournament, right?
Oh, yeah. He'll be there.
I guarantee he's at senior day today. Ivy College of Business, we appreciate you guys, Dean Spalding, everything that they do. Remember that graduate program. I know this school year wrapping up? Is that official? No. Got a little more juice to it.
No, we got I had lunch with Dean Spalding.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Awesome.
Did you talk to him about the Bitcoin?
I told him you suggested he hold, and he's like, I think I know what I'm doing, but thank you, C-Dub.
Well, he told me to get out of it when it was at like 20,000, and it's at 100 now.
I'm not arguing with either of you.
I'm just saying. I mean, I think he's smarter than me. Don't get me wrong, but he was wrong on Bitcoin.
So he did say enrollment in the Ivy College of Business was at a record this year, and it's up for next year as well. So Ivy is bucking the trend of higher education because a lot of enrollment is dropping across the country. Ivy's at a high record. I like to think, C-Dub, it's because of the Cyclone Fanatic podcast.
I think it is. If you're a kid that doesn't know what you should get a degree in, just get a business degree.
100%.
Because I think like I had in my mind, like, oh, that's just for like numbers geeks. Because that so stupid. should have just got a dub. Like, why did we get minors in political science?
So we could argue in class.
Yeah,
but
well,
that didn't really...
pretty damn good at that, aren't we? I feel like they did something right in that political science
Look at us
department
now.
there. Okay, BYU. Let's
They
look
are-
at their profile real quick.
They are a machine right now.
I'm going to give you their profile. It's terrifying, honestly. This is a terrifying game. I told you last week I thought Iowa State had a better chance at losing to BYU than I did Arizona. The hype wasn't going to be around that because it's on a Tuesday. You didn't have the Halliburton Yang thing. You didn't have the drama from the last second shot. BYU is a better basketball team right now than Arizona. There's no doubt in my mind. They have now won 6 in a row. They have won 10 of 12. They are in Big 12 conference play only the second best offense in the league. They are shooting 58% from the field during Big 12 play, an effective field goal percentage. That is an incredible statistic. And that would be 4th overall in the entire country. So, you said a well-oiled machine. That's the perfect way to put it. But this winning streak that they've had it's no joke. So they killed Kansas State. They just completely shattered that team's dreams.
They did. They what you always used to say it on the radio.
They detesticled them.
Thank you. That was the one we were looking for. Yeah.
They won at West Virginia. They beat Kansas. They won at Arizona State, and then they made easy work of West Virginia on Saturday. When I watched that game, what stands out to me is their length. They are a long, and you talked about athletic. This looks like a pretty damn athletic basketball team to me. Bloom, this team, I will say, is better than what we warned everybody. We were scared about that Kansas State game when Tang came back because of how they were playing. BYU is better than Kansas State was at that point.
No doubt.
So, listen, I'm not – look, this isn't doom and gloom. I'm saying they may have 25 next to their name. They're probably playing like a top 10 team right now.
I mean, they've won 6 in a row, and they have been blitzing people. Like, you don't just stumble into that. And then what's terrifying for them more than anything, C-Dub, is now they're starting to guard a little bit too. You know, for a while it was, all right, it was the Hoiberg, like, we are just going to put up 90 and you guys can't stop us. But they played some defense yesterday, and I think West Virginia's offense is struggling. I mean, when West Virginia can't make a shot, it's really hard for them. But here's what's staggering for BYU during this 6-game stretch. All right, so here's their last 6. Or excuse me, I'm gonna go back. Let's go back to end of January. They've made 11 threes, then 15, then 10, then 14, then 10, then 10, then 10, then 6, then 14, 14, 17, and only 5 yesterday. They went 14, 14, 17 and made threes in 3 straight games. That is silly. You don't do that. Their system is as good as it gets. It's why I was actually talking to a colleague of mine who works in the NBA this week, and we like to joke of like, yeah, everyone thinks you don't play defense in the NBA. When you're so good, there's not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah.
And BYU runs amazing stuff. It's an NBA system. That's what they are doing. The guy was the lead assistant for the Phoenix Suns. He brought in NBA talented guys.
Who by the way, has kind of underachieved since he left. I don't know if there's a correlation there or not, but just thought I'd throw that out
no, that's a good point. Yeah, the Suns have not been as good.
No idea if there's a correlation there, but it all runs together.
Very, very good point. But they've got NBA guys. The Demeen kid is a 6'9" point guard that will be a lottery pick. Saunders has been an all Big 12 type player, and they've been shooting it great. And even the Hall kid who drives me nuts, Dalen Hall, because he's a point guard. And you feel like you can overpower him, but he's really scrappy. He's good. Traore is a big guy. Like, the one concern I have with them is they are not huge. They don't have a lot of depth in the front court. They are long, and they got a bunch of like 6'6" to 6'8" guys that are long. I do think I
meant more long in the front, in the back,
in the guard court. Yeah, they are like those, like Demeen and Saunders.
I think the Presidents could have a nice day.
That's where I'm going. Is like Iowa State can really, in my opinion, push them around inside. So you got to rebound the heck out of the ball, and you got to push it inside early with Jefferson and Jackson, because I don't think. and they don't have a lot of depth in there, if they get in foul trouble at all, then what BYU is going to have to do, they actually, you know what the best comp if you're an Iowa State fan is? The Prom team with Jameel McKay as the center. Where when that team was on, we all saw it. They could beat you by 20. Because if they had all those guys making shots, like, sorry, you can't do much about it. But if they're not, and you're able to expose them inside, get them in foul trouble, this team doesn't rebound great. I do think there is an opportunity for Iowa State at home to be physical. I mean, if I'm TJ, I'm throwing that MMA fight on again. I'm like, all right, guys, bring it. Make the officials call a foul. And hope you can out-physical them.
That's the game plan, right? Is turn it into a rock fight and
yeah, I mean,
maybe not. I'm not saying like lower possessions, and I'm not even just get up in their ass.
Yeah, make them uncomfortable. Like the Hall kid's, he's a nice ball handler, but this is one where you make them uncomfortable, and they, turnover percentage isn't good. Like they are 171st in turnovers. Like they.
So this is a Keyshawn Gilbert game too, because I would make the argument. Which game? What? Who was the first team that they lost to with that? Oh. I mean, is Cryer doing what he does if Gilbert's playing?
No. Great point.
Everybody wants to talk about the offense. Is Cryer probably? I mean, he's gonna get his because he's so freaking good. But it's easy to do that if Keyshawn's out there.
Great point. That's where Keyshawn.
Don't judge him just by the offense. Is what I'm saying.
I thought his aggressiveness defensively really helped Iowa State against Arizona.
No
which
doubt.
was missing. You're right. So that's the game plan here: is get them uncomfortable, make those threes contested, let Hilton go to work. And guys, we need Hilton to be a 10 out of 10. I mean, this game
you get one more shot.
It is. This is
put your chips all in.
Yeah, it says monster ramifications because quite honestly, you lose this to BYU, you're not getting the double bye.
No,
because they will have the
pretty much
tiebreaker.
Impossible because they're not going to lose to Utah,
right?
And they're going to have a tiebreaker on you,
right? So
you really needed them to lose prior to this, which they haven't done. So, yeah, this is for the double bye.
This is for the double bye. There's a lot. And then Iowa State, you want to feel good going. And it would make, again, you want to beat K-State as well, but it takes some of the onus off that game of, I think if you beat BYU, you're definitely the 2-seed conversation again. You get the double bye, and that can be critical when you're talking about rest in March. And so I think this is one of those games, and we talked about it 10 days ago. It's like Iowa State, rest up as much as you can. Yeah, do you want to beat Houston? Sure. Would have been nice to beat Oklahoma State? Absolutely. They hate losing that game. But the plan all along was to get right, get healthy, get rested for Arizona and BYU, and let's make a March push. And here we are. So now's the time to do it.
I'm still pissed about that Arizona game. I'm still mad about it. Those boys deserve to win that game.
They did.
It makes me so mad.
I am glad that yesterday was affirming what we thought we saw in Tucson, which was Iowa State can do
played
that
its
too.
ass off.
Yeah. Lost the game.
Okay, Whiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment. Plant your independence. Plant Whiffles. This is going to be more like an NCAA tournament segment tonight.
By the way, I'm not telling anybody I don't provide professional gambling advice, but BYU at 22-1 to make the Final Four is dumb. That is super dumb. That team is, when that team's clicking, I think they're a top 10 team. So,
yeah, I think they're playing like one right now.
FYI.
Michigan State beats Wisconsin. That was good, right?
Yeah, it was good. So
I had somebody ask me on Twitter who I thought Iowa State fans should root for, and I said root for Michigan State because we're trying to get just Wisconsin knocked out.
So one thing, and my guy Sean sent me a text today. I have a listener to the podcast and appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, Sean.
He said, make sure people are aware that the whole Milwaukee thing, there can be two regional teams at the same site. You don't have to be in the same pod. So both Iowa State and Wisconsin could absolutely both go to Milwaukee.
I hope not for fans, though, because it'll make it a lot more expensive.
And that's exactly what he said. He's like, but we don't want Wisconsin there from a ticket price standpoint.
Yeah.
So if we're just looking at the budget. But no, I think Iowa State, with that loss, I think Iowa State moves ahead of Wisconsin on the seed line, which could mean the more favorable spot in Milwaukee. But honestly, they both could end up being there. I got to look. Michigan State has now reeled off a bunch in a row here. I got to look at what their closest regional may be for Michigan State. And I think this is kind of the game you're going to play. over the next 5 to 7 days of, what's the closest site. I think it's still probably for Iowa State now, Milwaukee or Denver. I think Wichita's out. I think those Texas schools will go to Wichita.
Yeah. I would guess. I'm looking at these regionals, right? Cleveland. How close is Cleveland to?
Yeah, I mean that would be a Michigan State one. I mean that's. I would say, okay, test
Cleveland,
me.
Milwaukee. We got Lexington. Probably
Lexington.
not.
So, no, that'll be a Tennessee and Auburn
so it's probably one of those two, I would think.
Yeah,
Providence.
So Cleveland,
no, they're not going to put them there.
Probably not.
Seattle, Raleigh, Denver.
I bet Cleveland is about the same distance from East Lansing to Milwaukee. I bet it's about the same. So that's something to keep in mind for sure, because they could 100% could put both Michigan State and Wisconsin in Milwaukee. I guess though they put Michigan State in Cleveland. I bet.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, and Chris,
Bloomatology.
I like I've said before, I won the 4th grade geography bee at Sacred
We
Heart.
had some people really coming up on us for our geography on one of the shows.
Yeah.
I love it when our listeners are that engaged. We appreciate that.
You're listening all the way through.
Kansas loses at home, which just doesn't happen very often, even on a bad year, to Texas Tech. Great win for them.
And then, wow, that got really sideways with their fans again.
Yes.
Really sideways.
So, Mayo Kid, screenshots.
I was wrong. 3.5 hours from East Lansing to Cleveland, 5 hours to Milwaukee, because you got to go around that lake. There's that lake thing. I believe it's.
Can't you just fly over it?
We probably could.
Why would they fly around it?
They will probably fly either way.
Jeez. You think Izzo's going to just get in a bus?
No, he's not getting in a bus. Although there is a rule. There was. I don't know what it is now. If you were inside 4 hours, they made you take a bus.
Cheap ass NCAA.
Makes sense, NCAA. They got to pay their president
Yeah,
$6 million.
They don't have enough money to charter these things. My God. Okay, so Mayo puts out a tweet where he screenshots a fan using racial slurs.
Four of them. 4 different fans.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So then Bill Self puts out like this. At the time, it was like a really weird statement because I hadn't seen the other stuff, and I'm like, that's the most bizarre press release I've ever seen in my life.
It was really weird.
It's just ugly down there. No matter how you slice it up right now. Heart goes out to that Mayo kid. He's just trying, like.
Yeah, he's like,
we got to have a conversation at some point. This is what fans have always had ever since Twitter, you have the opportunity to directly engage with these athletes now, or unless you bumped into Marcus Pfizer on campus, assuming Marcus was going to class, you're probably not going to say anything,
Right, why would you say anything to him in person?
And this is so easy now, and then you have the NIL thing on top of it, where some fans believe, well, they're professionals, we should be able to say whatever we want. Maybe you're right, I don't know. Clearly, this crossed a major line, and I don't know. I just don't know. Kansas is 10-8 in the Big 12. They got to go to Houston on Big Monday. It's not like, they're going to miss the tournament or anything like that, but they are in a really bad spot. This team is just completely reeling, and then they have Arizona on Saturday, Brent. So in theory, you could be looking at a 500 Kansas team in the Big 12 going to Kansas City.
Unbelievable. No, yeah, I mean, I've got it.
Can you believe this team beat Michigan State the way that it did by 20?
Look at Kansas's non-conference. It was really good. I mean, that's what's keeping them afloat here. I mean,
they beat Duke.
They beat Duke, right?
It's crazy.
It was actually a really good game against Tech. I
love that game. Watch the whole thing.
I at some point, again, maybe I'm old. All right, I preface. I'm 40. I don't know if I'm a man. Well, I am, but anyway.
I'm a man.
The burner stuff is getting out of control. Is that old man yelling at cloud?
No, I've thought this for years. I've said this for you. I completely agree with you.
Because the issue here is, and again, it's never okay to say what people said to Zeke Mayo in any capacity. The issue is there is a world where now these opposing fan bases will make these burner accounts and send stuff like this to impersonate another team's fan base.
Yeah, to try and make them
try
look
and
bad.
do this stuff.
Yeah.
100% happens because I get it all the time from, not all the time, but occasionally from supposed Iowa State fans, and then you look into it further and you realize, no, that's just a burner from, Nebraska and Iowa or somebody else, and you got to like actually look. But it's really unfortunate at times online. I don't even know. I don't even think this thing is an NIL thing. I mean, probably a little bit.
No, I don't. It didn't feel. I think they're just mad that their team sucks.
I think right. I just think, but we gotta the anonymity is interesting. I just think it literally it takes you away from any accountability, and this is what can happen. And the poor kid, like the kid's great. Anything I've heard about Zeke Mayo is 100% awesome.
Well, and I know Hendo, who coached him last year, and I know how elite he is from that standpoint. That's why it's like, God, like that poor kid. And he wanted to go home and play for his hometown team. And he's probably right now in this particular moment wishing he was still in the Summit League.
Well, it makes you like, and sure, was there NIL involved? Absolutely. Like these guys should be considered, professional enough right now, but they're still young, and I think,
and they're still humans,
and that's Chris, because there's times because we, to a very very small extent, nothing at all like this. But there are times where I've had to catch myself in the last 2 weeks when Iowa State was struggling. I'm not popping off at, some Iowa State fans.
I was actually shocked. Wednesday night after our event, or Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. Yeah.
And I had not been on Twitter because we were doing this event, and couple dudes said some really mean things to me, and I didn't know why.
Yeah.
And I'm nobody. Imagine like what these high profile guys are. Just stop. Like, just be a good person.
And even like
whatever. It's not.
I know, but like
the overwhelming majority of people are not like this. But I think all the good people can do a good job and call these idiots out, and then it puts
most of the
pressure
time
on.
most of the time it does. And perhaps the next thing is, well, then don't listen to it. It's like, well, it's hard when you see it. You can't just ignore it, and hopefully these kids will get better at just kind of ignoring it. But it's a generation that's on their phone all the time. They see it, and this is where it can get when it gets out of hand. And it was sad. It made me sad last night to see. And I don't love Kansas. Don't get me wrong, but in no world should we be sending anonymous messages to kids for that stuff. I don't care if they're getting paid. I just really don't.
Makes no difference if they're getting paid.
I don't. Exactly.
You shouldn't do it to LeBron. You shouldn't do it to anybody.
And some of the things, like even just quickly on our end, because I was talking to some fans on the message board today, they're like, well, you guys shouldn't just, the vast majority, aren't mean, so you should celebrate that rather than. Unfortunately, just like anything, you will see what makes the biggest impact, and this is why these burner accounts exist, because they know people will react to it.
Well, there was an Iowa State mom who, I don't remember who it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. This wasn't that long ago. Shoot, it doesn't matter. Who thought an Iowa State fan had said something disparaging to her son or whatever that like totally crossed, and it wasn't like it was one of those burners that you're
but
talking
they didn't
about.
know. But they don't know.
But the mom, God, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on this, but the mom was pissed and was like, "Hey, my son loves it at Iowa State, but this is too much.
Why are they mean to him?" Yeah,
and she was confused and like, that's just trying to prove your point, like. On a hyper local level, we've seen this.
I just, again, maybe I'm missing something with the burner things. I just don't understand it, and I'm old.
I don't know what the answer is to that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm somewhat guilty because we run a message board that
totally. Yep.
But that's like college sports culture. If you look back in the 2000s, like these message boards, like it, and man, I know ours isn't perfect. There's a lot of hate on there, and I hate it, but it's also like a lot of really good things happen on it.
Yeah, I know. That's the tough part.
You know, so it's I don't know what to do about it. Unfortunately, it's gonna have to be these tech companies are gonna have to be the ones to these hateful bots. Like, oh my god,
I don't even know. Honestly, that's the problem, C-Dub. I don't know if there is a solution. I think you said it best. The best thing you can do is, if you aren't one of those folks, try and
call
just
out the idiots.
overwhelm people with, who this fan base really is. And it's literally happening in Kansas right now. It has gotten so sideways with them and their fans that their season is basically, for 2 years in a row, by the way, is on the fritz. And I don't think it's coincidence.
It's exhausting too. I know nothing, but like if I'm Bill Self, he should have gone to Oklahoma State. They would have appreciated him down there.
Well, apparently they did talk last year. So
yeah, I know. That's why I use that as an example. Like, God, like,
yeah, and
I would put up with that crap. It's another reason why it's like, well, why do you think Matt Campbell stays at Iowa State? Jesus, go to, what was he offered, like Florida State or whatever? Like, go down there and lose 2 games. They're going to be burning down your house, right? Like, so we're
something
praising Iowa State fans.
But that's where it's like trying to be like the rest of them isn't necessarily a good thing here. Just because they do it doesn't make. And again, I've had nice interactions with some of the Cyclone burners. I know some of them personally. I know who they are, but I don't know. That made me sad last night in the Wiffles Big 12 segment here. It just made me sad.
Don't be a jerk.
And listen.
That's the theme.
This is coming from a guy who
just be nice.
Who has upset the fans in Iowa City on several occasions, and I can learn a thing too. I really can.
We all
yeah.
could.
I it just made me realize, oh my gosh, this can get really bad.
That Oklahoma State team did not follow up with their big win over the Cyclones. Well, lost at Baylor.
They did not.
Utah blew out Arizona State. They got a real problem. Utah. Here's a stat for you. Arizona State led that game at halftime. Okay? Keep in mind, I'm down on Arizona State's campus last night.
Okay. Yep.
Utah outscored Arizona State 58-30 in the second half.
Oof. Will they keep Hurley? I don't know. I don't know what his buyout situation
I don't think he's very popular.
Well,
here's the problem. Like, when you're Hurley, like, when you're winning, you're a god. Oh, he's got swagger. That's my guy. Like, when you're losing, then it's really annoying.
it's hard. Yeah.
You know, you wear people down fast.
Yep. And I think our friends in Iowa City are seeing some of the ramifications of that now.
Yes.
Similar. Now, Hurley's a worse guy. Well, more animated than Fran is, but yeah, you're right. You lose your goodwill pretty quickly with the fan base. So here's the deal. So Iowa State beats BYU. I'm just going to give people the
run it down real quick.
version here.
Yep.
Iowa State will be the 4 seed and play Thursday at 11:30 in Kansas
Been in that
City.
spot a lot of times,
Yep.
so then it's back to like the quarters.
Yep. There is a world where Iowa State can get into the 2-3 seed range. I'm going to run the numbers, and I'll have that answer for you on Wednesday. It's not worth really discussing that until we know what happens in the BYU game, because there's a lot more moving pieces. Iowa State could get all the way up to the 2. Still could. But the BYU game has to be a win, or else you're probably a 5. And then that 5 seed would play Wednesday at 11:30. So you would be early. One thing I did want to mention, so my marketing director for the collective, a.k.a. Crystal, my wife, won't yell at me. We do have a Cyclones fanatic, and we will
yes.
get together.
What happens if Iowa State plays on Wednesday?
Well, the good news is it is going to be on Wednesday from 3 to 5, I believe. So we're good either way.
No matter what.
We'll be good either way, because we're not.
Got it.
We're not losing to that game, whatever that game is. So we're going to have it either way. On Wednesday.
You said it.
WeWillCollective.com under events. Find the tickets. And again, this is CF.
It is all over our social, too, because I know Jacqueline has put it up all over the place.
We've only sold, C-Dub, like 6 tickets.
Oh, that'll pop my.
So
People
we
haven't
like
started to play.
I know they haven't yet. I'm just trying to.
That place will be full.
But it's at the former Liney's. It's a new name of the bar now, so they've classed it up quite a bit. But it's right there in Power and Light.
Same place we did it last year, right?
Yes, but the name has changed. The name of the
Got
bar
it.
has changed.
Okay.
But hope to see you there. And again, it's only like $20, $25, but it supports basically what we're paying to get the room reserved to get all the Cyclones together.
Yes, we'll hammer that this week on all of our platforms.
That will make my spouse happy. It's 3 to 5. 3 to 5 on Wednesday, March 12th.
That was a really fun event last year.
It was.
So I hope everybody.
Yeah.
Hope everybody.
First time we met our friends the Adams up in Okoboji at that one.
Yeah.
And now great people.
Awesome times. All right, brother. Good work. Thank you. Appreciate you. He is Brent Blum. My name is.
The Ides of March have come and things are going. We're going. We're good.
Back at it, baby.
Back at it.
This is the. I always tell the staff, like, if you can't have your ass in gear and like ready to go this time of year, then you're in the totally wrong business, right?
Absolutely.
This is the best. All right, we'll see you guys on Tuesday night. Big one. Women coming up on Thursday. Connor will be down there for us with all complete coverage. We will have special Big 12 tournament preview shows for the men and the women coming up. More information on that coming this week. For Brent Blum, I'm Chris Williams. Have a great week. We'll see you guys at Hilton on Tuesday.